As the woman stared up at the tiny crack in her bedroom ceiling, she saw a single, lazy strand of dust drift down and land on her pillow. But as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she realized the dust wasn't just asterisk falling asterisk, it was being asterisk pushed asterisk out, rhythmically, with each quiet exhale from the darkness above. If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place. But before we get into today's story, please gently whisper a secret to the like button, then tell it you were just kidding so it doesn't get a big head. Our story begins with a 24-year-old nursing student named Maya. Like many students, Maya was on a tight budget, so when she found a surprisingly affordable garden-level apartment in a quiet, older neighborhood, she jumped at the opportunity. She was exhausted from juggling clinicals and classes, and all she wanted was a private, safe space to decompress. The apartment was her sanctuary. It was a simple studio layout, basically one large room that she had to cleverly divide. Her bed was tucked into the far left corner, as far from the door as possible. Across from the bed was a small kitchen. The main door was on the right wall, and right next to it was the door to her closet. The apartment's only window was small and high up on the wall, facing a perpetually shady walkway between her building and the next. Before moving her stuff in, Maya had spent an entire afternoon cleaning, scrubbing every corner until it felt like hers. She checked the locks on the door and the latch on the window. Everything was secure. This was her fortress. For the first 3 weeks, nothing happened. The apartment was quiet. The only sound was the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the distant rumble of the city. But then, one Tuesday evening, Maya came home from a long shift at the hospital and noticed something odd. The decorative pillow she always kept perfectly centered on her bed was on the floor. She frowned, trying to remember if she'd knocked it off in her rush that morning. She was so tired lately. It was entirely possible. She convinced herself she must have been more rushed than she remembered. She was just exhausted. It was nothing. A few days later, the second incident occurred. Maya had a specific routine. Every night before bed, she would fill a glass of water and place it on her nightstand. The next morning, she woke up, rolled over to take a sip, and found the glass was completely empty. There was no spill on the nightstand or the floor. It was just gone. She sat up, her heart starting to beat a little faster. Had she drunk it in her sleep? She didn't think so. Now, a cold, prickling sensation began to crawl up the back of her neck. The silence in her apartment, once a source of comfort, suddenly felt heavy and watchful. It felt like she wasn't alone. That night, she took a heavy textbook and propped it against her front door, just in case. The breaking point came a week later. Maya was jolted awake in the dead of night, though she wasn't sure why. The room was pitch black. She held her breath, listening, and then she heard it. A soft, raspy sound coming from somewhere inside the room with her. It was the sound of breathing, and it wasn't her own. Panic seized her. The breathing was slow, steady, and terrifyingly close. It seemed to be coming from the corner by the door. Her eyes darted around the dark space, her mind racing back to the mental map she knew so well. Bed in the corner, kitchenette across, door and closet to the right. The breathing was coming from the closet. Trembling, she slid out of bed, her feet landing silently on the cold floor. Fueled by a surge of adrenaline, she lunged across the room, grabbed the closet doorknob, and yanked it open. A man was crouched inside, his knees pulled to his chest, his pale face illuminated by the faint moonlight from the window. He was thin, with hollow eyes that stared back at her not with anger, but with a horrifying, placid emptiness. Maya screamed, a raw, piercing sound that ripped through the quiet building. She scrambled backward, fumbling for her phone and dialing 911 as the man slowly, deliberately, began to unfold himself from the cramped space. When the police arrived, minutes later, the man was gone. They searched the apartment and found the high window in the bathroom had been jimmied open. Its latch was broken in a way Maya hadn't noticed. But it was what they found in the ceiling that made everyone's blood run cold. Above the drywall, they discovered a small, cramped crawl space. Inside, they didn't just find a dirty sleeping bag and empty food wrappers. They found dozens of small holes, no bigger than a dime, drilled through the ceiling plaster. They were positioned directly over her bed, her shower, and her couch. And next to a pile of cigarette butts, they found a small, spiral-bound notebook. It was filled with pages and pages of notes, detailing every second of Maya's life for the past month. What she wore, what she ate, when she slept. The last entry, written just hours before, read, "She tastes the water I drink." Maya moved out the next day. She broke her lease and went to stay with her parents, unable to be alone. The man, a former tenant of the building who had been evicted months prior, was never caught. To this day, Maya sleeps with every light in the house on, forever haunted by the memory of the silent observer who had turned her sanctuary into his personal theater. So that's going to do it for today's story. If you want to hear another one, be sure to check out our podcast, which is called The Strange, Dark, and Mysterious Stories Podcast. We have hundreds of stories just like this one waiting for you.